Hi everybody, Pam from Fluent at Fitness UK and Fit Mums and Bumps here. I'm just going through another video with regards to the hormones, the Know Your Hormones, and we're talking about insulin. So the last video number 1 is on cortisol, which we know is your stress hormone. So if you haven't watched that yet, then I would recommend going back to watch that one first, because I covered cortisol first because it has such a overwhelming effect on every other hormone in the body. So I would cover that one first, and now we are going to talk about insulin, because when I talk about these other ones I'll refer back to cortisol, so if you know what that is then it always helps first. So insulin is secreted by the pancreas, and it helps to control blood sugar levels, so that when we eat and our blood sugar or our blood glucose, I'll use those words kind of interchangeably. Blood glucose and blood sugars are the same thing. So when we have an increase in blood sugar levels, insulin has to be released by the pancreas to help to control that. And type 2 diabetes is a form of diabetes that results when you can't secrete enough insulin, or your insulin is your receptors are resistant to the insulin, so your receptor cells then can't uptake the insulin to reduce the blood sugar or glucose levels in the blood. When in relation to cortisol, when cortisol levels are high, your insulin levels are also high, which means that the pancreas has to secrete more insulin. And when we are in that state of prolonged sort of high insulin levels, prolonged cortisol levels, it keeps us in a, sorry, I'm just moving it over a bit, keeps us in a fat storage mode, because insulin is a fat storage hormone. So when there's a lot of insulin going around, your body's always like, oh yeah, right, let's store more fat, and that causes weight gain, especially around the midsection, because we hold body fat there because it's quicker to metabolize, for the liver to metabolize when it needs in that emergency situation of the fight or flight response. So that's why it gets stored around the midsection. So an increased levels of insulin results in increased level of fat storage, especially in the midsection. We are also looking at the increased risk of heart disease and diabetes, which are both on the rise. Like type 2 diabetes is increasing hugely, as well as heart disease. And for women, heart disease is the number 1 cause of death for women, because once we reach menopause, beyond menopause, our likelihood of heart disease increases due to the drop in the type of estrogen, and that doesn't have the properties to protect the heart anymore, so that's why that happens. When we have quite high insulin in the body, we have symptoms. So we have mood swings, we crave foods like kind of sugar cravings, our sleeping habits are pretty poor, energy levels are low, and you get kind of energy slumps, which can be kind of late morning, kind of about 11ish, and afternoon about maybe 3. So if you find that you always hit that time and you're getting a bit of an energy slump, you're like, oh god, I really just need to go for a wee nap or whatever, that can be a result of that. So the relationship between the cortisol and insulin, so when the cortisol levels are high, it causes sugar just to be dumped into the bloodstream, so that it's circulating there and ready to be used in that fight or flight situation. And when it's not used, it's converted and stored as body fat around the middle. Over time, when insulin levels are too high, the cell receptors, as I said, become resistant to insulin being secreted, which can result in either insulin resistance or full bang type 2 diabetes. And being overweight increases your risk of that as well. Exercise has been shown to reduce the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, so another good point of that. So hopefully that lets you know what happens when your stress levels are high, why we can be maybe having mood swings and cravings and stuff at that time, because it's probably a lot to do with the insulin that's been produced as a response to the increasing sugar or blood glucose around because of the cortisol. Yeah, so the stress situation causes a higher percentage of sugar in the blood, which causes more insulin to be secreted, and sometimes the blood is still circulating, and that high insulin isn't good for our cell receptors. Yeah, so that's insulin. And second video of the hormone guide. Thanks for listening. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.